You know, some of the most powerful human stories we have are thousands of years old. And they weren't written just to be a history lesson, but to get at something much, much deeper about faith, family, and what it takes to survive. Today, we're going to dive into one of those stories, a really incredible account from an ancient record. Our narrator is a man named Nephi, and he lived way back around 600 BC. And what's so interesting is that he tells you his motivation right from the get-go. He's not just telling a story for the sake of it. He's on a mission to persuade you. And that one sentence, it basically sets the stage for everything he's about to tell us. Because he has that mission, Nephi is really selective about what he writes down. He makes it super clear that he's not writing some detailed family tree or a day-by-day history of their lives. He literally says he wants the space so he can write of the things of God. He's picking and choosing the moments from his family's life that he thinks have the most spiritual weight. All right, so that brings us to the first big event he decides to tell us about. Now, his family, led by his father Lehi, has already bolted from their home in Jerusalem. They're living in a camp out in the wilderness, right near the shores of the Red Sea. They probably think they've escaped the danger, but then a totally new and unexpected command comes down. So what's the message? It's pretty clear. For this family to actually have a future in the new land they've been promised, the sons have got to get married. This isn't about getting rich or conquering anything. It's a mission that is 100% focused on family, community, and just continuing on. So here's the kicker. They have to go back to the exact same city they just ran away from because people were trying to kill their father. And their job is to find this one specific guy, Ishmael, and somehow convince him to pack up his entire family and join them on this crazy journey into the middle of nowhere. I mean, that is a really big ask. And what's incredible is it works. The record says that God did soften the heart of Ishmael, and he and his whole family just agree to come. They pack up, leave Jerusalem, and head out into the wilderness. This should have been it, right? Mission accomplished, a moment of celebration. But it wasn't. As they were trekking back through that harsh landscape, all those family tensions that had been quietly bubbling under the surface for years just completely exploded. What should have been this triumphant journey home turned into an all-out rebellion. And who's leading this rebellion? It's Nephi's two oldest brothers, Laman and Lemuel. Along with a few of Ishmael's own family members, they basically decide, we're done. They want to scrap the whole plan and go back to the life they knew in Jerusalem. And right here, you see the heart of the whole problem. For Laman and Lemuel, Jerusalem is safety. It's their stuff, their property, their home, all the things they can see and touch. But for Nephi, that same city represents total spiritual destruction. So this isn't just a little argument, it's a deep fundamental clash between faith in an unseen future and fear of losing what's familiar. A tension that, honestly, feels just as real today. So Nephi, seeing his family just about to completely fall apart, is described as being grieved for the hardness of their hearts. He goes to his brothers, but not to fight. He tries to reason with them, to plead with them, using their own shared memories as his argument. And he starts with this incredibly blunt question. You can just feel the tension in the family dynamic, right? He's the younger brother, but here he is having to be the spiritual leader, basically asking them, how can you, my older brothers, be so completely blind to what's happening? And he doesn't just yell at them. He builds a case, point by point. He reminds them of the miracles they've already seen with their own eyes. Then he switches gears to pure logic, warning them that the city they're dying to go back to is in deep trouble and is on the brink of destruction. He's saying, if you go back there, you're going to be destroyed with it. But here's the thing. Nephi's heartfelt plea, all his logic, all his reminding them of their faith, it had the exact opposite effect. It didn't soften their hearts at all. It made them furious. And this whole conflict was about to go from words to violence. The record uses this really strong phrase, exceedingly wroth. This wasn't just being annoyed or frustrated anymore. We're talking about a deep, seething anger at their younger brother for daring to call them out. And that anger immediately turned into action. They grabbed Nephi, they tied him up with ropes. This family argument just became a life or death situation right there in the middle of the desert. Their plan was just horrifying. Leave him tied up so that wild animals would come and kill him. He was totally helpless, completely at their mercy. So, is this it? Is this where his story, a story that's supposed to be all about faith, just ends with him being betrayed and left to die? At his absolute lowest point, tied up and left for dead by his own family, Nephi turns to his faith. And listen to what he prays for. He doesn't ask for his brothers to be struck down or for some dramatic rescue. He just prays for the strength to free himself. And the response is instant. The record says that after he prayed, the ropes just fell off his hands and feet. Just like that. He was free. And he stood up and faced his brothers again. But a miracle like that doesn't just instantly solve the root problem. His brothers were still furious, still ready to attack him. The divine intervention was one part of the puzzle, but what happened next needed a human touch. And this is such a critical moment in the story. Other people get involved. One of Ishmael's daughters, who ends up being Nephi's wife, her mom, and one of her brothers, they start pleading with Laman and Lemuel. They step into the middle of this mess and become the peacemakers. And that path to peace? Well, it was a process. It wasn't a quick fix. First, you had the pleading from their new family members. That finally started to soften the brothers' hearts. Then came the regret, the sorrow, and they actually asked Nephi to forgive them. And only then, after Nephi agrees, can they all move on and continue the journey. And Nephi's part in this is just as important as the miracle. The record says he did frankly forgive them. That suggests a real, honest-to-goodness forgiveness, without holding on to the fact that they literally just tried to murder him. It was the only way the family could actually move forward. And so, this whole chapter that started with a dangerous mission and spiraled into this violent rebellion, it ends with reconciliation. The families finally make it back to Lehi's camp, not torn apart, but whole. And the very first thing they do is give thanks, grateful for their safety and for the fact that they were still together. This brings us all the way back to the beginning, right? Back to Nephi's whole reason for writing in the first place. He chose this story with all its messiness and rebellion and forgiveness as one of the key moments he wanted to share to persuade people. So it kind of leaves us with a question to think about. If you had to tell just one story to show people what you believe in most, what would that story be about?